the device is actually operational, although it slightly glitches in damp weather, and it's a little scary to fly it. It is quite possible to do this. Foreseeing numerous questions and indignation, I'll ask you point blank, do you really know how our material world is arranged? Just be honest. And since you don't know that, let's go ahead and figure it out.
On the night of March 18th, 1990, in the city of Vaskenel of Novosibirsk region, Russia, accidental passerby saw a man flying a strange aircraft in the sky. The next day, local newspaper reported that a UFO had been observed over the city. But if the passerby were able to scrutinize this phenomenon closely, they would have seen a man standing on a platform that resembled a small tabletop. And this entire device was moving in the air quite fast, producing no sound.
You should agree, it's not easy to believe that a man can hover in the sky without leaning on anything. Levitate, so to say.
Levitation is a very interesting phenomenon, secret and mysterious for modern science. Let's read out a classical definition. Levitation means overcoming gravity, when a subject or an object hovers in space without touching the surface of any solid or liquid support.
Let's not even take levitation. Scientists still cannot explain the flight of an ordinary May beetle. Look at how low it's going. We should expect rain.
Did you know that a May beetle is the object of great attention of aircraft developers all over the world? For example, in one of the design bureaus in France, there is a photograph of a beetle with an inscription below. The flight of a May beetle cannot be explained by any laws of aerodynamics. The beetle itself is unaware of that, yet it continues flying. According to the laws of modern physics and aerodynamics, a May beetle is not supposed to fly. The area of its wing is too small relative to the insect's body mass. For a May beetle to fly with an average mass of 0.9 grams, the insect must have a lift coefficient of 2 to 3, while in actual fact, a May beetle has a lift coefficient lower than 1. The flight of a May beetle has been the subject of a special study. An American scientist, Liam Bennett, who headed this research, came to the following conclusion. If we succeed in determining the aerodynamics of a May beetle's flight, we will either discover some imperfection in the modern theory of the flight of this insect, or we will find out that a May beetle has some unknown way of creating a high lifting force.
Biologist Viktor Grebennikov once noticed this strange flying capacity of beetles too.
Without any purpose, the researcher placed one underwing onto another, which was absolutely identical, and a very strange thing happened. The part broke free from the tweezers, hovered in the air for a couple of seconds, and then slowly fell down on the table. The wing plates obviously interacted. Viktor Stepanovich repeated the experiment, and one plate hovered over the other again. Then the scientists fastened several wings together with a wire, obtaining a chintic block, and right after that, not only light objects, but even a thumbtack easily hovered above the block. At some moment, the thumbtack even completely disappeared from view as if it moved into another dimension. Grebennikov realized that he had accidentally found something different. He discovered the phenomenon of anti-gravity. Later, the scientists called this discovery the cavity structure effect.
It took Grebennikov 2 years to develop an aircraft based on this principle, which could fly at rather considerable distances. And here's what he said about his first flight.
I took off right from the street, assuming that everyone was asleep and nobody would see me at 2 o'clock in the morning. The takeoff seemed to start okay, but after several seconds, when houses with rare lighted windows moved down and I was about 100 meters above the ground, I felt bad, as if fainting. I should have descended, but I didn't do that, and I was wrong because some mighty force had sort of deprived me of movement and gravity control and inexorably dragged me towards the city. With great difficulty, I barely managed to do emergency readjustment of the control panel. Horizontal movement began to slow down, and only at the 4th attempt I managed to switch off the device and hover above Zatulinka in Kirovsky district. With a sense of relief, I became convinced that the evil force had disappeared, and I slid back, yet not towards Vaskhnil, but to the right, towards Tolmachov. I thus covered my tracks in case anyone had noticed me.
As a matter of fact, using Grabeniko's experience, people could forget cars, aeroplanes, and gasoline, and could simply start moving in the air.
However, Grebennikov preferred not to disclose his secrets, and here's the reason why.
Why do I not disclose the essence of my discovery, the principle of gravitoplane operation? First of all, because time and effort are needed to prove that. Yet, I don't have any of those. The second reason for my non-disclosure is objective. I have discovered anti-gravitational structures only in a single species of Siberian insects. I don't even name the order this unique insect belongs to, because it seems to be on the verge of extinction. Who can guarantee that the last specimen of this marvel of nature will not be destroyed? Others seem to have invented something similar, but they don't hurry to inform everyone and prefer to keep their secret. Let's say, when you unfold new mysteries of the universe without knowledge, you run the risk of getting into states that are very dangerous to your own health, or the risk of harming the environment. That's what I actually experienced in my practice. This is the only thing I can tell you or disclose to you, so to say. Because if we now give devices of this kind to those who are in power, what will happen? If one or another party is equipped with gravitoplanes and poltergeist oscillators, or whatever we might call them, what will happen as a result? I don't want to be the one to blame for such a phenomenon. Let it better be science fiction and an old crank's fantasy. I had to disperse, dismantle, and scatter this stuff.
Many people try to replicate Grabeniko's experience, but with no results so far.
Well, generally speaking, Viktor Stepanovich was very open, inquisitive, selfless, and he was simply a good man. For this very reason, such knowledge was revealed to him. And perhaps, soon there will come a day when we will abandon our four-wheeled junkers and start using personal vehicles that will be both faster and safer than contemporary aeroplanes.
This is what Viktor Stepanovich mentioned.
Yet, for objects to move in the air, you shouldn't necessarily use any means, devices, or scientific inventions. There is another option: telekinesis.
When objects lose weight and start moving in the air by themselves.
Well, not really by themselves, but with people's help.
Many of you know such a thing as telekinesis, which is the movement of objects at a distance. Those who are interested in this topic more seriously are probably familiar with the name of Ninel Kulagina.
Yes, but unlike her, we will work with a much heavier object. In this case, it's a 1.5-liter bottle of water. As you can see, there's nothing here. And for you to make sure that the experiment is carried out in real time, here we have put a clock with a second hand. One person can do this, but it requires a lot of energy. It is much easier for two people together. And if a full group is working, then mass does not matter at all.
Many people might think it's a fake. I would have probably made the same conclusion if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes. On the other hand, it explains how ancient monumental structures were built, such as megaliths in Peru and on Easter Island, the Baalbek Terrace, the Egyptian pyramids, and that very coral castle created by Edward Leedskalnin.
In southeastern Florida, between Miami and Florida City, near Homestead, there is a strange architectural ensemble on the seashore, one of the greatest mysteries and wonders of the modern world, the Coral Castle. It is famous not for its artistic value, which actually doesn't exist, but for the way it came into being. The wonder and mystery is that Edward Leedskalnin built it on his own, without using any equipment, although the total weight of this ensemble is 1,100 tons. The frail man had no car or any machinery at all. He only had a bicycle that he rode to the city. He didn't even have electricity. Nevertheless, he repeatedly went down to the ocean, cut multi-ton limestone chunks from a coral atoll in an incomprehensible way, brought them to the site, processed, and laid them out the way he wanted. The gate he made in a wall is a real masterpiece and one of the owner's most mysterious creations. Just imagine a lumped cut of a coral monolith measuring 3 by 1.5 by 1 meters and weighing 9 tons is installed in such an amazing way and so perfectly balanced and centered that it easily revolves on its axis at a single touch of a finger. Even a child can open it. Neither scientists nor those who study this phenomenon can understand it so far. During his lifetime, its reply to all the inquiries of its contemporaries was succinct, extensive, and at the same time quite unequivocal. I have discovered the secret of the pyramid builders. Only once he added to this phrase. I learned how Egyptians and other ancients built in Peru, Yucatan, and Asia using primitive tools to lift and install stone blocks weighing many tons. Edward believed that contemporary science is not sufficiently familiar with the nature of magnetic currents. In his view, it's all about individual magnets and the movement of these magnets in space, where they produce phenomena such as magnetism and electricity. Some researchers consider that in order to move stone blocks in the air, he used electromagnetism as a dynamic spinning force and thus affected the Earth's gravity, making the blocks weightless. It is noteworthy that on average, one block in the Coral Castle weighs more than the blocks used for the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza.
Human abilities are unexplored, but a human can really do a lot because he is a human.
Yet, these are basically the issues of science, in particular, the primordial ALLATRA physics. There is a question, though, for what purposes these abilities and inventions will be used.
The more people will abandon consumption and approach creation, the more secrets the world will reveal to them.